Hey, Martin. Thank you, Martin, for your kind introduction, and good evening to you all, dear friends. It's such a privilege for me to be standing here, and I hope I will do justice to what is expected from me. But I have peace because what is expected from me is what comes from my heart. So, I don't know if you have counted how many times the verb connect and interconnected has been used by Luia and Dina, but I will try to showcase of how real it is. They said that good fences make good neighbors, right? But if you stand within your fences, well, you are building nothing with your neighbor anyway. And if you consider that nowadays we all earn to be connected, Wi-Fi and you name it. But I want to show you that we are more connected than what Wi-Fi can ever do. Sometimes you have to restart it, to relaunch it, and sometimes you have to look for someone to help you do that. But in fact, we are naturally connected and interconnected. What I want to explain, and I hope that the logic of my keynote will do justice to that, is that we are part of a giant puzzle. And each one of us is a specific, special piece of it. But we do not make sense on our own unless we strive to find our place in that giant puzzle. So the title of my keynote is indeed Beyond Boundaries, whatever name the boundaries has, being nation, being culture, being religion, we are interconnected in our raison d'etre. But to start with, when I was reflecting on this, I was reminded by a quote from Maya Angelou. I like it very much, and I share it with you. She said, "Your legacy is everyone, every heart you have touched." And if it is true that we all strive to leave some lasting legacy, then the heart of change is what will help us continuing every day, everywhere, touching hearts. I will build my keynote on the amazing, the remarkable legacy of Yakuba Sawadogo. Yakuba is a farmer. Some of us have come to know him. Those working with the World Future Council has actually met him, and those who have been at the dialogue on land and security has also met him. He has been nicknamed through a BBC documentary, "The Man Who Stopped the Desert." It is an award-winning documentary that has been released in 2010. And he won the Right Livelihood Award, which is also called or referred to as the Alternative Nobel Prize. He won it in 2018. In 2011, despite the concern of my UN team, as I wanted to invite him to be the keynote speaker at a high-level gathering of ministers, my colleagues were concerned that I wanted to invite a seemingly illiterate farmer from a remote country called Burkina Faso to be the keynote speaker to high-level people, ministers, and, well, you name it. Well, I told them the risk is mine. So I proceeded, and we have had Yakuba Sawadogo as our keynote speaker. And what happened and what truly struck me is not just the story of his success, and this has been, overwhelming for everyone who was in the room, but it was the first question of the Q&A. He was asked by the executive of a major European development assistance organization, "How can we help you?" Ladies and gentlemen, here is the answer of Yakuba Sabadogo. Yakuba replied with humility, quote, "Thank you, sir, for your kindness. I know that the drought destroying my land are not caused by my people's way of life. But I strongly believe that if each of us took responsibility for nature and acted with greater care for the common good, the earth will be a much better place for us and for the generation to come," unquote. And there was silence in the room, a deep silence. And then everybody stood up and there was a standing ovation for Yakuba Sabadogo. In essence, Yakuba reminded us that the true support we owe each other lies in caring for nature and working for the common good. He could have asked, "Give me some money because I need this, I need that. I wanted to secure my land," because he was asked to provide for a title deed of his land. He hadn't asked for that. He said, "The care you owe me, that I owe you, is that together we care for nature and for common good." So maybe one of the things that we need to take from here, when you are asked, how can I help you? Maybe the answer could be, how many minutes do you have to hear me talk to you about my potential, what I have, what I earn for, the potential that I have within me that I could bring forth with you? Because Yakuba was perceived as a mere farmer, but his keynote was the best I've ever heard. I can't count it anymore how many conferences I have attended. And if I want to capture it in one sentence, then I will use an African proverb that says, "If you think that you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping in a room with a mosquito. And you will see who will make the difference." So this has led me to revisit the definition we have of sustainable development. Personally, I have been struggling from day one back to 1992 then, because the definition was grounded on needs. It reads, "Development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own." It was a need-based approach, and the more we use it, the more we have forgotten the pyramid of Maslow, where there is an hierarchy of needs from the basic needs to the aspirational needs. We have continued talking about the needs as lack, and we have pursued needs, and instead of sustainable development generating some more consumer and production responsible patterns, it has generated more consumerism. So as I reflect on it, and I have noticed that the time I spend discussing with those who are natural change makers, like young people, like indigenous communities, or even like entrepreneurs, trying to bring the definition to make sense to them, it is tough. I don't know if I have tried. It's only when I just say, well, we are in a world where we are connected anyway, we want it or not. And your potential matters for me. What you have for you that is within you is not for you anymore. It's for you to take it out, to make it work for common good and vice versa. And that potential approach to the explanation, when I use it, especially with the youth, you can see light coming from their eyes. They say, oh, then I have something to do here. It also connects with What I used to share with youth, especially in Africa, when nowadays they are in some challenging situation, no job, no opportunity. And when you discuss with them about what are you dreaming about, they will tell you, well, don't mind my dream because the problem is. And I will tell them, what if you do it? Yes, sir, but the problem is. So I will often ask them, give me a coin, and let us look at the coin. A value of a coin is never on both sides. So when you consider your problem, consider it as a coin and flip it. You may see the opportunity on the other side. As Bina was telling me, I think it was yesterday, yes, don't call it problem, call it an opportunity. And that's the way you bring those who have that potential within themselves to feel like, yes, I can do something. I can even, at least the mosquito in the room, at least I can be the mosquito in the room. So instead of focusing on needs, because needs are circumstantial and potential are for life. Needs can vary across time, geography, and context. They are often reactive, driven by the immediate demand of a situation. So when we concentrate on need alone, we reduce individuals to their needs. At least for me, it is like an insult to an individual, a person, when you see the person only by her lack or his lack. Because we are not our needs. So instead, I propose that we shift from the focus on need to that on potential. This shift from need-based to potential-based approach is more than a change of terminology. It represents a fundamental paradigm shift in how we view togetherness and development and the role that we can play within it. By focusing on potential, we empower individuals, we empower communities. Our role, therefore, is not to do for them, is not, like we said yesterday in our group, is not to have projects for people, which is a kind of power play where I think for you and I do for you. Rather, it's about how I come in, listening to you, and my role is to help you unleash the potential that is within you and become the master of your destiny in connection with others. And now come maybe the question that you may ask me. What about the three tragedies of sustainability? We know we have been striving and even struggling about three tragedies. The tragedy of the commons, the tragedy of the free rider, and the tragedy of the horizon. You know about the tragedy of the common is it occurs when individuals acting in their self-interest deplete shared resources and compromise the common good. The tragedy of the free rider is someone who who just gets in reaping what he have not sown. And that of the horizon has been coined by a former Bank of England executive is our tendency to believe that, yes, we can afford to prioritize for short term and still leave the medium, even the long term to the generation to come. Because the elections are coming or the budget is not enough, and then let's prioritize for the short term. These challenges reveal the flow of a need-based approach, which often address symptoms rather than the root causes. So, how does the need-based approach could play in what I call the interconnectedness of individual and collective purpose? I told you we are all part of a giant puzzle. And it is when we understand that we can live a purposeful life. Now, what do I mean by interconnectedness? It's not my word anyway, but I use it here anyway. To fully grasp the importance of shifting from a need-based to a potential-based approach, and to understand the interdependence of individual and collective purpose. Here is how I explain interconnectedness. It refers to the complex and often subtle ways in which individual communities and ecosystems are linked. It is the recognition that our action, no matter how small, can have far-reaching impact. Like Yakuba Sabadogo in the 90s, he has the option to flee or to withstand the drought and do whatever he can with the knowledge within his reach to restore his land. And when he managed to do that, then he reached out to his neighbor to tell them, come and see how I have been doing it. And he joined them to do the same on their land. It is out of the understanding of the interconnection that he did that. And in our world nowadays, where we face conundrums like climate change, biodiversity, inequalities, they are all connected. You try to address one, the other, if you address it in silo, the other will just bump up and make it even worse. Now, what about the raison d'être? That's the very few French word that has been translated into, or taken as it is in English. Raison d'être, I like it. It is your way of being. It's what makes you unique. It's your life purpose. It's about understanding who you are. Why do you do, or why do we do what we do the way we do it? I have been in a position where I like going to the field, taking scientists to the field. I gave only 2 instructions. When we get to the field, to the community, please do this. You love this. You open this wide and this wide. To understand why people are doing what they are doing the way they are doing it, is only then that your knowledge, your expertise, and your science can be of any help for them. If not, they will listen to you politely, and then when you left, they will go back to their business as usual. So when our life purpose is aligned with the broader need of society, it becomes a powerful force for positive transformation. So what are the philosophical grounds for it? Well, you know when Descartes said, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, which have sometimes led us to say, therefore we must speak from the I. It is right, we can't speak from, if not from the I first, reflect from the I and speak from the I. But if you just stick to that, then you will continue fueling, anthropocentrism. You will continue fueling individualism, and you will not be able to connect to the broader sense that, you like it or not, is the vessel of your life. By contrast, there is another way of saying I am. It is the one that we are used to in Africa that is coined by the word Ubuntu. I am because you are. And I am because you are is something that is grounded in most of the African culture, whereby, of course, you are welcome to think from the I, but if you want to voice your thought, make sure that whatever you have thought about from the I makes sense for the we, because you are not if the others are not. The only way for you to be, because you are a relational being, is for others to be. And this may sound very like, thought in the air. It's not. When I became the executive secretary of the UNCCD, it was back to 2007, as Martin said, I was given a process that was about a convention, which title is the Convention to Combat desertification. So it was a fight against it. But naturally, I don't like fighting against. Because when you fight against, you don't, or at least you mobilize and you speak to only those who are against the thing. But if you work to flip what you are fighting against and call people to work for its opposite, so my idea was to bring the whole process. And remember, in the UN, this is a convention who has been negotiated in 1992, signed in Paris 1994, with 1994 countries who have ratified, and you want to change the world. You're doomed. Unless you find a way out. And the way out was, let us reward the strategy of the convention to shift from the fight against desertification to the fight for sustainable land management. That is the cure of desertification. And believe me, it has taken 5 years to work on it, and eventually to succeed in Rio Plus 20, in Rio 2012, to have it reflected in the outcome of that conference, the future we want. It is in there. We must strive to build a land degradation neutral world. I won't tell you here why it is strive and not commit. This is a whole story. So, the potential-based approach enables each generation to realize its full potential and satisfy its needs within the planet boundaries. Remember the puzzle. While avoiding to compromise the ability of future generations to do the same. That is my personal definition of sustainable development. Well, I shared with you, and I welcome your feedback. Human potential is inherently linked to nature's boundaries. Your potential is connected to the boundaries of nature. You have to come up to the understanding of it. But to do that, you have to know who you are and what you have. No one is resourceless. So, of course, if I sense that I can help you apprehend your potential, I should do that. It is a kind of being enriched if I do that. So there is therefore a potential-based leadership that is needed to bring this to the fore. And I call it potential-based leadership, or Ubuntu. And this is really about ensuring that when we say I, before going any further, ask yourself, is my sentence or the way I will have framed my thought and voice it and move on to take action, is it relevant for the we I'm part of anyway? That is the starting point of moving forward in the potential-based approach. And the steps that we need to take are steps that start with precisely the I, introspection. Be aware of what makes you special. Last year, I was in a teaching course in Rennes, in France, teaching a group of students of Sciences Po. And suddenly, they were just a small group of 20. One of the students asked me, but why are you so enthusiastic talking, sharing your mind with us? I wasn't expecting a question like that. That's not the question you expect from a student. So I asked her, well, okay, how many billion of people has been on planet Earth since Homo sapiens became sapiens? One of them said 30 billion. And another one said, we don't know. I said, yes, we don't know. How many are we now on the planet Earth? They say 8 billion. I say, yes. How many billion will be through this planet before we end up destroying it in the sense of making it enable to hold life? They say, we don't know. I say, well, but one thing we know is that you have no copy in the past, no in the present, no in the future. And there's a reason for why. The reason is what is within you. If you apprehend it you know it's not for you. It's meant for you to take it out as a service to others. And what is making me here enthusiastic in talking to you, I was concluding my answer, is that what is in me, I owe it to you. And I have to bring it out to the best of my ability. So, friends, once we identify our potential, the next step is to actively seek opportunities to apply it in ways that benefit others. Remember, service is not a burden, it's a privilege. It's an opportunity to contribute to something greater than ourselves. Therefore, I will conclude by, again, where I have started from, with the word of Maya Angelou. Your legacy is every life you have touched. Let's ensure that our legacy is one of meaningful purpose, deep interconnectedness, and lasting impact on future generations. And remember, never speaks from the I if it's not relevant for the we. Thank you.